This video is the next in a series I'm doing on the 5 things that I did to achieve my goal weight and goal physique. This one is taking a deeper dive into what to eat. I'm Molly MC. You can read more about me on my YouTube homepage, but my goal is to share what I've learned through many life lessons on how to make difficult change. I lost 30 pounds in the past few months, and I've been able to keep it off while enjoying my food and enjoying my life and loving my body. So today we're starting with what to eat. First, let's talk about how much. You've got to know how much your body needs versus how much you eat on a daily basis. And it's none of this eyeballing or estimating stuff, because that is an easy way to lie to ourselves. I like to start with just what does it take for my body to operate, just that very baseline amount of food that I would need. I use an online calculator. I'll put a link in the description, but you can also just find anyone by Googling it. It's likely going to be a lot less than you think. And that is, again, baseline. That's without any activity. Now, when you start with this, I wouldn't do a significant deficit of calories. And the reason for that is because 1, it's miserable. 2, because it's miserable, it's not sustainable. And 3, your body may think that you are starving. So it might actually have the opposite effect, that your body would start to conserve energy and calories because you're eating so much less. So it's actually thinking that you're in a starving mode because of this abnormal biological state you've taken it into. So I recommend starting with the baseline that your body needs, because it's likely going to be a big decrease already from your current state. And this is also going to pretty much be the lifestyle change that you can maintain for a pretty far outgoing basis. That's going to be realistic and sustainable, and therefore not miserable, because this is the actual amount of life-sustaining food that you need to live. I say to do this versus doing one of those massive calorie deficits, because you also run the risk of easily gaining weight back once you start to add calories back. You can do a deficit after you've gotten used to that decrease of calories to the baseline, and just monitor how much weight you lose. And then as you start to add calories back, make sure you're monitoring your weight that you're maintaining at that point. And of course, on a regular basis, you do more than just be a body. So you're going to be creating a calorie deficit with that of the calories that you use to go about your everyday activities. And then you can add some exercise if you want to, even just some walking, some light strength training. That's actually going to go a long way if you get your nutrition right. And one thing I forgot to mention, the reason why I talk about nutrition first is because if you get this right, you will lose the weight that you want to without having to do anything else. The last thing that I want to talk about when it comes to how much food to eat is that you have got to read the nutrition facts on the food that you eat. You've got to read the labels, and you've got to measure it out. And if something doesn't have a label, look up how many calories are in the portion that you're going to have and measure out that portion. A lot of people eyeball and estimate this, and then they wonder why they're not losing the weight they want. And I actually have an example of this. What came to as a big surprise for me, I do like to eat a lot of nuts and almonds, walnuts, pistachios, all those. They got a lot of great protein and fat in them. I'm thinking a serving's maybe a half a cup or more. Then I finally look at it and I realize it's just a quarter cup. In a quarter cup, there's 200 calories in a quarter cup of nuts. I was eating double that because I didn't read the labels clearly enough, and because in my head I thought a quarter cup would be way too small of a serving. So now we've talked about how much to eat, let's talk about what to eat. I do mostly carbohydrates, followed by protein, followed by fat. I try for a balanced plate, so I'm looking to have a fruit, a vegetable, a whole grain, and a good source of fat and protein. I love this because I'm getting tons of vitamins and minerals and good quality energy. Examples: I love a sweet potato. It's got a ton of vitamin A in it, which is good for your skin and your bones, and it's got complex carbohydrates, which are great for quality energy, especially over time, especially with my exercise routine. Avocados are wonderful. They've got a lot of B vitamins, which are good for cell health and energy. They also are a good source of fat. And fruits with vitamin C as an antioxidant, which also helps with collagen formation. So you've got your oranges, your blackberries, tomatoes, apples, bananas. I eat asparagus and beets because they're a good source of potassium. I love spinach and broccoli for the calcium and the iron. So all these fruits and vegetables and the complex carbohydrates in them are also a great source of fiber, which is, we know, good for our digestion, but also really good for our overall metabolic health. Now, if you need motivation to eat your fruits and vegetables, what I do sometimes is I just Google them one by one to look up what's in them and what those vitamins and minerals do for me, and it motivates me to eat them. And I think about that while I'm ingesting them, of what they're doing for my body, the good that they're doing. There's also booklets out there. I have one that a friend of mine made, and I made one for myself in a nutrition class where you just list out all the fruits and vegetables, all the vitamins and minerals that they have in them, and what they do for you. One that I just found online is called The Complete Book of Vitamin and Mineral Counts by Corinne T. Netzer, and there's also a pocket guide online by Amanda Frazier. When you're eating all of this healthy food, I realize, especially if it's an adjustment, it may not taste as good to you. So if you need to add some oil and some butter and some salt to it, go ahead and do it. You need some of that oil and butter anyway. One of my favorite authors is Dr. Michael Greger, and he says in his book, How Not to Die, if you need to add bacon bits to your salad to get you to eat the salad, do it. Now, going back to, if you are trying to lose weight, you've got to measure it so you know how much calories are in what you're adding compared to how much is in your budget for the day. And then one note on the salt. If you are starting to eat healthier, you do have more room for that salt in your diet, and we need salt as a mineral. But if you're eating a lot of processed food, that has a lot of sodium in it, so you do want to watch your salt intake in that case. When it comes to protein, I love whole grains like amaranth and quinoa and buckwheat because they actually are complete sources of protein, meaning they have all the amino acids in them that our body doesn't make. But I also eat animal proteins like eggs and salmon and lean chicken and lean turkey, drinking whole milk, again, because that's got fat in it as well. But I don't always get those significant sources of protein in on a daily basis. So I also have protein shakes available to me, or protein bars, protein snacks that will ensure that I get the right amount of protein I need in a day. I also like nuts and nut butters, plant-based sources of fat and protein, because that fat is healthier for us. I'll talk about that in just a moment. And then finally, another great source of whole grains and something that I eat that has some good fiber and protein in it is Dave's Killer Bread. If you haven't heard of it, look it up, buy it in the store and try it. They've got all kinds of types, and it's delicious and has a lot of good nutrients in it for you, and lets you still eat bread. When it comes to my protein sources, I do also like to look to the plant-based sources, because then I'm getting healthy fats as well as protein. So I do nuts and nut butters and avocados and oil. I love peanut butter on a slice of Dave's Killer Bread. One of the other things that I do that I would recommend is, once you find the things that you like to eat and are part of that daily caloric budget that works for you, I make a running list of those so that when I go to the store, I can just pick from those as I'm shopping. I don't have to create a whole new list each time or figure out a whole new plan each week. Now, for where I'm at with what I'm actually eating, I am doing more protein now than fat, because I do work out so much, and I'm actually quite impressed with how much it's helping me build muscle. I know that's what the science tells me, but when I actually see it happen in my personal life, it's pretty exciting. I do still eat animal products, again, to get that fat and protein in, but the fat in animal products is saturated fat a lot of the times. It also is a source of trans fats, and those two items can lead to heart disease. So I do try to limit them. Saturated fat also has negative effects on our health in other ways that prevent weight loss. It has to do with how it affects our hormones, and I'll go into that in the last video in this series. The other issue with fat is that it is more calorie dense. It has twice the amount of calories per gram than carbohydrates and protein do. So if you're going to eat those sources of fat, you just have to realize that you don't get to eat as much as you do of the other the foods that might be on your list. Finally, a note on processed food. I still do eat a decent amount of processed food, even though it has sodium in it, chemicals and things that preservatives and things that obviously are not good for my health in the long term and cause inflammation. But for me, I have to work on one thing at a time, and that's just not where I'm at yet. So if your goal is weight loss, the most important thing I can tell you to focus on is the number of calories to start. Finally, let's talk about when you're eating. When trying to lose weight, it really is a challenge if you want to eat late at night. As you lose the weight that you want to and you've really made it into a lifestyle change, you can start to eat later, but as you're trying to lose weight, it just makes the process take longer, and it can be discouraging because you eat the food and then you go to sleep and your body is in a restful state, not burning as much calories. So I recommend stopping around 8 or 9. A lot of people say 6 or 7. To me, that just is not manageable. That's not realistic. It made me miserable, so I stopped later, and it worked for me. Last thing I'll talk about is intermittent fasting. You don't have to do this to lose weight, but it does help, and it also has other benefits for cleansing the body. I liked to do it because one of the things I learned in a nutrition class a long time ago was that after 12 hours, our body starts to access our fat storage in order to use that for calories. So that always gave me a lot of motivation to do intermittent fasting. So I'll try to do that a couple times a week for more than 12 hours if I can and if I need to. But if I have something going on where I need the energy and I need to be on and ready to go, or if you've got to get yourself to work and you've got a meeting and you need your brain functioning at 100%, then you need to eat. Don't fast on those days. So that's it on what I wanted to cover briefly on nutrition. I know there's a lot of fads out there. Those to me seem for more short-term gains. I just have to focus on the basic biology of the body that I can understand and that I can implement on a regular basis. In the next video, I'm going to talk about one of the hardest things that I've ever done in my life, which is get refined sugar out of my life. So please subscribe if you want to be notified when I release that, and I'll see you there.